What's up guys, Aroneous here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. In today's video I'm actually going to be doing Faction Wars. So Faction Wars, I got 60 stars right now on the Dwarf Crypt. So I have 21 minutes left. I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat it, but we're going to try this out. And I'm just going to go right into it with this team. I did upgrade recently my Geomancer and also my Herndig. So both of these champions, if you don't know, they have an ability that allows for fully depleting the target's turn meter. So I went ahead and maxed them out because turn meter manipulation is going to be really good on this boss, the red boss, which is on stage 21 for the Dwarf Crypt. I also have my Master Butcher. He's built pretty tanky. I put him in a regen set. I put this champion here, Rearguard Sergeant, in a regen set as well. And then I put Rockbreaker in a regen set as well, I think, or Immortal. These two champions are not in regen or Immortal, so it's going to be a little bit tricky. So I'm going to try to get through this. We'll see what goes on as I'm, pushing the waves. Now the waves are a little bit annoying just because they can take down your health pool quite a bit. So the goal is to try and CC the waves if you can. And it's okay to use your main abilities for the waves. It's not a big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and put it. You want to CC those targets that do a lot of damage. It stinks that I wasn't able to get Torture Helm, but we'll see if we can kill Torture Helm or at least deplete his turn meter. So that's why you kind of want Geomancer and Herndig. Of course, Geomancer, not everybody has Geomancer, not everybody has Herndig. Herndig was a fusible champion, so if you don't have him, obviously you can use another champion. At least a damage dealer, because Herndig's really my main damage dealer. Geomancer is second in regards to my damage dealer, but Geomancer is in a stun set, so he's not there to do a ton of damage. He's there for CC, and he's there for dropping turn meter. So there's that. So I'm going to try to get through these waves, and then I'll come back to you. I might just fast forward through these waves because nothing special about the waves, to be honest with you. Or I may just, I could just go through this whole thing. Honestly, I will say too though that it would be nice if I had a different champion other than Master Butcher for this this stage, because more damage might be better. And I say that because you can try to nuke this boss down, and if you can nuke the boss down, then it's easier because you're just going to try to kill him before he can get too many hits off on your team. So we'll see how it goes. You definitely want to CC the Torture Helms because Torture Helm does do a lot of damage. If you do have Herndig and you see that these champions are pretty low on HP and you have Herndig built halfway decent, my Herndig's built okay. I think he's got about 90% crit rate and about 215 crit damage, so he will one-shot a couple of these ad waves. So I don't know if I'm going to one-shot him here, but I am going to go ahead and just use the A1 because I want to reuse the abilities on the next wave. So let's see if we can get a stun here. Nice stun. So that's why I put Geomancer in a stun set. Honestly, I could get away with putting Geomancer in, I'd say, a regen or a double or triple immortal set as well, which will help with survivability against the boss. But I think that also you could put Geomancer and Herndig in Relentless. You can try them in Relentless. You can also try them in another gear set that helps. I forget the name of the gear set. Not Retaliation, but there is another one which helps be able to reset a skill cooldown. And that's why you need to CC Torture Helm, because he will literally one-shot your team. And now I need to start over because I clearly wasn't paying attention. And I've got to replay it as quickly as possible. So I'm just going to go ahead and get through these two waves and then I'll come back to you. Well, it's 7 p.m. and unfortunately I won this one, but I only got 1 star. So the unfortunate news is because it's 7, and I'm just gonna move myself out of the way here a little bit, see if you guys can take a look at the damage. So you can see Geomancer's got 700,000 damage, Herndig's got 935,000. Geomancer and Herndig are all-stars on this team. Now obviously Rearguard Sergeant kept on getting attacked, so I'm not going to clip all of that stuff out. I'm going to actually have you guys watch it. If you don't want to watch it all the way through, that's totally fine. But I think the next time I'll be able to, whenever this faction crypt does open again, which won't be for another 2 days, so that's actually good news for me. So in 2 days from now, I'm going to end up upgrading my Rearguard Sergeant, and I think if I could just put her faster than my other champions, she won't be targeted as much. Alright, so we're going to start off by showcasing Rearguard Sergeant. Actually, matter of fact, I'll show you Rockbreaker instead. So with Rockbreaker, for his skills, artifacts, I've got him in a regen set and a perception set. Perception set is definitely your best friend, so is regen, especially on the bosses that are the red boss where they smack really hard. You want them in as much HP as possible. I have Rockbreaker in 50,000 HP, 1600 defense, which is not that high, but you know, they get slammed for a lot of damage, and I'm pretty sure the red boss ignores defense, so you know, having crazy defense is not going to do a lot for you, but you want them to be as fast as possible, as high HP as possible, and as high accuracy as possible as well. If you want to go for more damage, go for it, but every time you attack that boss gains more turn meter. So there is room for improvement on these pieces. I do have my Rockbreaker at HP chest, HP gauntlet, HP boots as well, and I was able to get my Rockbreaker at 183 speed with these boots. So if I were to upgrade him to rank 6 and get more speed, I could easily get another HP banner and get probably 10 to 15 more speed on there, which is pretty sweet. I also have room for improvement here on the boots. I can get 7 more speed here, 4 more speed on the chest plate, I can get 5 speed here, I can get 4 more speed here, so on and so forth. So I got lucky with this helmet. This regen helmet's really good. Triple roll on speed with attack, which I don't need for him. Would have been better to get defense or crit rate, would have been an insane piece. It's already really good as it is. And then I can get more speed right here as well. So I could easily get Rockbreaker to 200 plus speed. I just haven't thrown any speed sets into him, so I'm just going to throw a 3-star in there. So that's another 2. So he should be at what, 185 speed now? Yeah, so 185 speed, that's still pretty good. He doesn't have to be 200 plus speed, but the higher speed you can get, the better. Especially if you don't have champions that can nuke, like Herndig or Geomancer, who can do really good on the turn meter manipulation. So the reason why Rockbreaker is so good is because he's got this chest thump ability, which does a provoke on all enemies for 2 turns. He's not booked out on my for me, but if you wanted to book him out, you could get it to 100%. I don't think you require to book him out, but if you do book him out, you'd want it to land in this Iron Hide ability, which it says has a 25% chance of decreasing the damage inflicted on this champion by 50% each time this champion's attack, which is pretty insane. So if you book this out, the debuff chance does go to 50% chance to end up decreasing the damage. So you want to try to get him targeted by the boss, so the boss is doing 50% less damage on Rockbreaker, and hopefully the boss doesn't target your other champions. For masteries, I don't really have many masteries on him. I did go with the defense tree and support tree. You could go with the offensive tree as well if you wanted a little bit more damage out of him, but he's not a damage dealer, to be honest with you, so I don't think it's required. So for the next champion, I am going to go to... Alright, so we've got Rearguard Sergeant here. So Rearguard Sergeant, also a good champion. If you do pull her, definitely don't chuck her out in the bin. Unfortunately, I didn't have her at high enough stats. Off screen, I upgraded her a little bit because I had a little over 1,000,000 silver, and I got her to 205 speed. She was at about 180 something speed, so I tossed in a bunch of glyphs. I upgraded some of my artifacts on her, so I think the next time in 2 days from now, I should be able to beat the crypt. I just didn't have enough time because I got home late from work, so I wasn't able to beat the crypt in time. I did put her in a regen set as well, so you want her going as fast as possible as well. Put as much HP on her as possible. So she's in speed boots, HP on the chest, HP on the gauntlet. Again, perception is your best friend, especially if you're free to play such as myself. Perception is going to be the way to go on most of your champions. I've got her in defense on the ring and HP on the amulet, so I could upgrade the amulet. I'm probably going to upgrade her headpiece, her gaunt, and also her chest piece as well. So I want to upgrade the helmet, want to upgrade the chest plate, and I think once I upgrade the helmet, chest plate, and amulet, she should be good to go in 2 days from now. For her skills, she has really good abilities, good decreased defense. She's also good for clan boss. She's good for regular progression and dungeon waves, especially if you pull her early. You can put her in all of your dungeon content, your clan boss content. She also has an A2, which decreases the attack on all the enemies. So it's a 50% chance to place the decreased attack, but it also heals this champion by 25% of the damage inflicted. And she actually hits kind of hard. She's not crazy damage dealer by any means, but she does do a little bit of damage. So if you want to put her in 100% crit rate and put as much damage on her, she will heal herself up a little bit against waves, enemy waves. The last move ability that she has is Fend Them Off. So this is an ally protection and a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. And that's on a 3-turn cooldown. But you want to be careful when utilizing this ability against the final boss, because obviously if you utilize this ability, the final boss targets you, then you're going to get one shot, potentially, especially if you don't have a reviver. She also increases force ally HP in all battles by 33%, another amazing ability, but the aura I would prefer if she had like 25% HP for all allies. That would have been super helpful. Now it does help for, I believe, not Herndig, but it works for a Geomancer. So Geomancer is a force affinity, but that's the only force affinity that I do have on the dwarf faction crypt. The next champion, you guessed it, we've got Geomancer. So Geomancer is also insane. So this guy's incredible for your account. If you do pull this guy, you definitely want to use him. He's absolutely incredible. He's insane in clan boss. He's insane in Hydra, dungeon progression. He's a carry for your dwarves faction crypt, so you want to utilize this guy as much as you possibly can. His A1 attacks all enemies. Basic, but the decreased accuracy is huge for Hydra. It's also really good for bosses, especially when you're facing bosses like Spider if you want to use him early game. He's good at mid game for progression for Spider as well. He's got the HP burn and the weaken on the A3, and then on top of that, fully depletes the target's turn meter and fills this champion's turn meter by the amount the target loses. So you can literally do this ability, potentially go back into doing another ability right after, and then you can go into Creeping Petrify on his A2, remove all buffs from a target enemy, then attack them, steals all buffs instead if the target's under HP burn debuff if it was placed by this champion, and reduces the cooldown of the Quicksand Grasp ability by 2 turns if the target's killed by this champion while they're under HP burn debuff placed by this champion. So this ability is massive, and obviously this is not going to work on a boss, but if you're going up against waves, he's actually really good against waves. And then lastly, he's got the Stone Guard ability, which decreases the damage all allies receive by 15% and reflects that damage onto each enemy under HP burn debuff placed by this champion. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, only one will activate, but whenever this champion's attack deflects 30% of the damage instead, and when deflecting damage on each enemy hit, has a 30% chance of dealing additional damage equal to 3% of the target's max HP. So that is insane. Geomancer used to be broken. He's not as broken as he used to be. He got nerfed a little bit, but it's still insanely good against bosses, and he's probably next to Herndig second. You could argue that Geomancer is the best for faction wars in the dwarf faction crypt, next to like legendary status champions. So for an epic, I would say Geomancer is the #1 that you want to build on your list of epics for faction wars. He's probably the best because of this Quicksand Grasp and fully depleting that turn meter of the bosses. The next champion I'm going to go over, Master Butcher. So Master Butcher, He's a good champion. I wouldn't say he's overpowered. He's very good for wave content, and he's also good for Bommel, as everybody should know that by now. If you don't know, he's got a really good A3 passive ability, which is when he's attacked, heals all allies equal to the amount of damage taken, but it doesn't work against bosses. So if this worked against bosses, I would say Master Butcher is the best champion, hands down, on the Dwarves faction crypt for rares and probably even epics. I might not go that far because I don't want to crap on Geomancer too much, but he would be insane, probably broken to be honest with you. And that's likely why they didn't add that in. So another passive he has is he revives a random ally with full HP when this champion is killed. Now obviously this would be great in like Arena, it's good against Bommel, it's good against Dungeon Waves, it's good against Faction War Waves, but if you're going up against the final boss and you don't have a reviver, this is not really a great ability, but for other progression content it is. Now on his A2 is really great, and his A1 as well, because he has a provoke on his A2, which places for 2 turns, increases the crit rate of your team, and increases the attack of your team for 2 turns. It's the weak version, but it's really good, especially if you're trying to nuke down the final boss. And then he has the mash ability on his A1, 30% chance of placing a provoke for 1 turn. So he's not a bad champion. I do have him in a regen and an immortal set because I built him specifically for Bommel, the Dreadhorn. And then for my masteries, I did go all the way down the defense tree and support tree, and I put the Spirit Haste for whenever there's a dead ally stacks up to 24, more speed, and that's specifically for Bommel as well. And then I'm going to go with Unshakable once I complete his masteries, so that way he's going to be resisting as much as possible. Total stats, 250 resistance, 197 speed, about 60,000 HP, so, and 220 accuracy to land against Dungeon Waves and Faction War Crypts as well. So the last champion that I want to go over is going to be Herndig. So Herndig's an exceptional champion. If you didn't fuse this guy, then that's super unfortunate. I mean, this guy's insane. Obviously you can't fuse him if you're just starting out the game and starting to play the game, which I totally understand that. But if you did pull him, then you are one lucky person, because this guy is a beast. He's a beast in Arena, really good in Dungeon Waves, really good in Doom Tower content, endgame progression champion. This guy's going to take you from the beginning of the game all the way through endgame. He's got endgame builds, he hits crazy hard, and he has an insane kit. So just to look at his artifacts, I put him in a speed set and double perception. Obviously you can put him in Immortal, which is going to help him survive more against the final boss, but I try to put his HP as high as possible so he's not targeted by the final boss on stage 21. So I haven't had that issue with him, unless for some reason the final boss does like the A2 or A3 ability where he shoots out like a weird type of symbols at you, and then he places a fear, and he always attacks the fear target, so you want to watch out for that. So he's going pretty slow for me, but he's also an arena-based champion for me. So I got him at 100% crit rate, a little over 200 crit damage, 306 accuracy. The reason why I have him at 300 accuracy plus is because in Arena I want to be able to try my best to reduce the turn meter of one of the champions so I can help him to go again. And I put him in War Master because of dungeon content, but for Arena, once I complete the faction crypts for this faction, I'm actually going to switch him over to the other mastery, which is Helm Smasher, so he can do ignoring defense, and then he's going to do insane damage. His abilities really quickly: Lethal Lust on A1 grants an extra turn, decreases the cooldown of Stasis Strike by 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy, and if you do book him out and get lucky, you can get his Stasis Strike to a 4-turn cooldown. So if I had his on a 4-turn cooldown, I would have probably already beaten the boss on stage 21. But of course, as you guys know, legendary books are very hard to come by, so you know that's been a challenge. But A2 attacks all enemies, 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense and a 50% decreased accuracy for 2 turns. Insanely good. He's great in Hydra. He's really good. I wouldn't say I would put him in Clan Boss, You can put him in clan boss, so he'd be really good early game, mid game clan boss, but I wouldn't recommend building him for end game clan boss. I don't think that's where he needs to be. He probably needs to be in dungeon progression, campaign farming, Doom Tower progression, things like that, and especially Faction Wars. Stasis Strike A3 places a weaken, but he also fully depletes the target's turn meter. Of course, you have to hit a critical hit on enemies that are, he's weak affinity to. And you should, it says right here, will also attack all enemies if the first hit is critical. So this AoE attack has a 75% chance of placing a weaken debuff for 2 turns. Will also place the HP burn debuff for 2 turns after the attack on enemies whose turn meters are below 30%. So some people would consider him being used in Spider's Den as well, but I don't think that's really his area of expertise. For the early game, mid game, sure, use him in Spider's Den, but as you get into the later stages of this game, you're not going to utilize this guy in Spider's Den. His last ability here, we've got Stayed, which is his passive. Fills his turn meter by 10% every time he's hit, occurs once per hit, so not per turn. There's no cooldown on this ability. Also fills his champion's turn meter by 20% whenever an ally dies. Now if you have a reviver on your team with him, then he's really good in arena, like exceptionally good if you want to do a go second team. Herndig would actually be fantastic in a go second team. His aura is attack in arena battles by 35%. So again, if you want to put him in the lead for a go second team, if they can survive, or maybe you have a Duchess that can help survive or revive the team, then he's going to be exceptionally good. I already showed you the masteries. So that's the team, guys. I wasn't able to beat the faction crypt today, but I'm going to come at it again in 2 days, and more than likely I should be able to take down the dwarves faction crypt. If you guys have watched this far already, please leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Subscribing would be fantastic. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Appreciate you guys very much, and definitely show some support to the Ukrainian people. There are a few different avenues that you can go to help donate to the people of Ukraine. Thank you guys so much again for watching. Take care.